You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, I'll give you a cheers.
Cheers.
Perfect. Thank you, Carla, for coming on. I appreciate it. And I think you want to start two ways we can kind of go. You want to start with kind of going from childhood forward, or do you want to go with kind of what you're doing now and then work backwards?
I'll do whatever you want me to do. I can talk childhood if you want to.
Let's start childhood then. Yeah, you can start there then.
Okay.
So, you are TR Berea area?
Yes, yes, I grew up in that area.
Yeah. And let's see, what were you kind of interested in at that time? What was the early childhood like for you?
So it's kind of funny because I've been thinking about some of this lately.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that I had the perfect childhood.
Wow.
I really would, because that sounds funny to say that. It wasn't like, when we think of perfect childhood with people, you might think like glamorous and they got to jet off and do all these things. But I grew up in the community of mainly the Berea area, part of the Berea area. Mm-hmm. And our church was kind of the central piece of that. Like there were tons of people that went to that church from that community. Yeah. And then about fourth grade, my parents bought property and built a house up, kind of on up, but that put us on the travel dress side. Yeah. But the reason I say that is the community it's not like travel dress now.
Well, neither place was like, let alone travel dress, was probably way off from.
Yeah, and Berea's not like Berea was now. That's true. But all the other piece was because of that, like church was central to what everyone did. Like it was kind of the it was the social piece of what you did as well. Does that make sense? Because you didn't have a lot of extra things. Everybody would do their sports or do their activities, but you weren't doing it on the weekends all the time like you did, like the kids do now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So from that, just knowing everybody in that community, they always would come alongside you. And I just remember it as being a very happy time that you just had a lot of people in your corner, a lot of people wanting you to do well. When you would go to school, sometimes people that you knew would be your substitute or whatever, but they always kept up with what you were doing. And to me, that just seems like the perfect childhood because you don't see that today. Kids seem so, they're really into their sport or they're really into dance or they're really into, and I'm not against it, but they don't have the same like community built around them. Yeah. Not generational community.
Yeah, it's not the same of the kind of interconnectedness across everyone bringing to like that central aspect. It is very much more of a split off to whatever your interest or hobby kind of is. Yeah, I would say that's
direct in that.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good way of putting it.
Yeah,
framing it.
Yeah. So that was like I basically lived there.
Yeah, so you kind of grew up then more with like come home whenever like the street lights are on or like you're just kind of off. You had that freedom.
Absolutely, yeah. Or you would be told, okay, get out of the house. Clean the house, you're gone. And you would. And the whole neighborhood played together. And I can remember standing through the fence talking to Wendy Roach when we were little. But we would the whole neighborhood would play games in the middle of the street. You would ride your bikes everywhere. No one was worried. And if you were in the wrong place, somebody that knew you and knew your mom would call them and tell them anyway. Everybody just looked out in a kind way for everyone else.
Yeah, that's a nice aspect of just having everyone kind of, it's like everyone's your parent in a sense. Of, it gives like a kind of group communal, it helps keep kids, it gives like guidelines of it's going to be found out, not in like a bad way, but it's going to be that you have the freedom to go do what you want to, but also then there's that drawback of, well, everyone knows who you are. So.
Yeah, they're going to tell. Yeah. But I also feel like, and that's what I've thought about recently, is that everyone was in your corner. You knew that the older people, like they would always ask you what you were doing. They've kept up with it. They know what's going on. But your friends' parents were the same. You weren't in a competition with them. You were just like theirs too. And that's how it felt.
Yeah.
And I think that's a special time because I don't know that the kids have that today.
No, yeah, I think that's kind of narrowing in on the idea of like now it's much more of trying to compete and get the one step up of it's not so much of a trying to raise all boats. Like it's more trying to how can I elevate my own?
Yeah.
It feels
very individual.
Yeah, and it does kind of eliminate. I see why it's a lot more fun, like to kind of grow up through that time. And it's not so much that I don't think. Well, I have a different perspective because we grew up out of the way of like everyone, regardless. So there wasn't like, but even when it was going to like a neighborhood to hang out with friends, it was I don't know. That feels different. It's not. It never felt the same as what you said. And I think that's I think that is truly special of having everyone root for you and be together.
You didn't know your neighbor. You don't really even know your neighbors. You might know the person right beside you a little bit.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You knew everybody on the street.
Yeah.
And then when we moved, I always say we moved out into the country. But we really did. Like there were 4 houses on our road and tons of trees and forest all around us.
Yeah.
But at that point, my parents were always like, okay, everybody can just come here. And they did. And I had tons of friends that would come over again because there wasn't a lot to do. There was. But also, most of the cheerleading squad would spend the night on Friday nights.
Yeah.
Or FCA, my dad built us a big fire pit and we would have 60, 70, 80 kids there. So it was also kind of the hangout. But I think that also stems from growing up, okay, now we've got this place to go.
Yeah.
We kind of stuck together.
Yeah, it's nice to have. It is funny how normally someone in the group gets the like designated place to go to.
Yeah.
Funny how that,
they went to your house.
Yes, it's universal. Someone gets chosen as like, that's the place everyone goes.
It is true.
That's funny how it's just cross everyone. What were your hobbies then? What was like your sports? I know church obviously was big.
And really, I always cheered from the time I was like 3, and so I would say that was pretty much central to a lot of things. But it's not like kids cheer today and compete and all that. We just I thought that when people came to a football game that they were really coming to see the cheerleaders and the game was secondary. I mean, we're that self-centered. No, but truly like that was kind of our thing. And then as I got older, I was really kind of involved I was just a social kid, I guess. And just student council and all of the school things.
Yeah, all
kinds of clubs and activities. Yeah,
that's cool. What was your student council position?
In middle school, I was like, I think I was like treasurer or something in middle school. I can't really quite remember something. And then in high school, I was junior class treasurer, and then I was just like class president or whatever other than that. But we were always busy and
staying with a full schedule for
all things.
Yeah.
Never home.
That's fun. In high school, how did you what was your process, or what do you kind of remember of trying to figure out what you want to do afterwards, or how did that kind of take place?
That's really kind of interesting. I think when I went to high school, I guess I always went with the intention that I would be going to college. I never, don't remember a time not thinking that I was. And I do remember by my junior year, I had decided I wanted to be a nurse, and that's what I was going to do. I was going to be a nurse. And
sounds similar to someone else.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, and they can change their minds, right?
Yeah.
So I told my mom that I wanted to be a candy striper at the hospital. So I don't even know if they let you do that now, but you could go to the hospital and volunteer. And the teenage girls wore little red and white striped dresses. And they had it was like a little jumper dress. Yep. And you went. And to be honest, I act like in my mind, I think I went like a million times. I think I went through all the stuff and I went, but I might have only volunteered like 5 times. I don't even know, but I act like it was like a lot.
Yeah.
And anyway, one of the things that I was assigned to do, though, in my time that I was going to be a nurse, is I was assigned to play with a child in like a little playroom or whatever in the children's hospital area. And I was so excited because then I was going to be a pediatric nurse, of course. I'm thinking in those terms. And so I go up to play with this child, and the mom tells me that they are removing the child's leg that week because of cancer. And I remember going home hysterically crying, just not, and so it was kind of, I don't know, because when I applied at Clemson, I still applied in nursing, and I got into Clemson in nursing. But I think from that experience, I kept thinking I would rather work with well children. I can't do sick children. I think it just kept kind of tearing away.
Well, you had that at like 17 probably, or 18?
Yeah, actually, no. I started Clemson at 17. I graduated at 17.
So you had an early birthday?
I did. Yeah. And so, so I was probably like 15 or 16. Just thinking about me driving around town at 15 should scare a lot of people. I'm like, oh.
Out and rambunctious, just...
Yeah, I can't drive great. I can't imagine what it would have been like at 15.
Oh, well, you made it this far, so...
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Experience now, that's what matters.
That's right.
Yeah, that'd be a lot at 16 to go, and it's like, well, this kid's gonna lose their leg.
Yeah.
That's a very...
It was like, this little dream world that I had lived in or whatever. And so then I think as soon as I went to Clemson for orientation, I changed my major.
Switched out,
to education.
I mean, understandable. I gotta say, that's probably like better to figure out then than afterwards,
I guess I probably couldn't handle nursing anyway. I'm not sure I could.
Maybe you figured it out later.
A blessing in disguise.
Yeah. At least figured it out then. Figured it out earlier than later.
That's true.
That's nice. So you switched to education. Was that because you wanted to kind of still... Was it like stay on the path of being like helping and kind of people and being on the...
Absolutely.
That side? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole goal is because I just loved kids. I loved people. I wanted to work with children. And so that I thought teaching was perfect.
Like good second avenue. That's what was your time like at Clemson during that? Because you were probably in shoeboxes, I imagine.
I was actually in the high rises.
Oh.
The high rises were girls.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, maybe some of the shoeboxes. And and I think and somebody can correct me, but I think like there were only like 14 or 15,000 people at Clemson at the time. What is it, like 29 or 30 now?
Yeah, it's up there.
It's a lot. But anyway, we were in the high rises. You can appreciate knowing me. You can appreciate this. My first roommate. So here I come from Traveler's Rest. All right, I'm a devil dog.
Yep.
And I knew everybody in town. Everybody knew us. And I just thought, the world was sunshine and rainbows and just full of candy. Like, that's just how my outlook was. I was, So I get to Clemson and my roommate. And the other thing is, I also decided, and I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I decided that, like, my room needed to match. I think I needed to be Martha Stewart, right, for the day. And so my roommate was from Rochester, New York. Okay. And I'm like 5'2". She's like 6 feet tall. And I am loud and the world is my oyster. And she is quiet. I'm elementary ed. She's biochemistry. You know, you can see how this is going, right? It works perfectly. And she was so excited when she came because her car had air conditioning. And because up there, they wouldn't have needed it. And I'm like, you're going to need some air. I mean, like, who does have air conditioning? But I feel so bad. I feel like I should apologize to her now because I was like, okay, let me tell you, I will go get our bedspreads. And I will get, because I wanted it all to match.
You want to?
So I can't imagine, like, what she really thought of me.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was, Clemson was a good experience for me. It was a growing up experience. It taught me that the world did not revolve around me, that I had thought that it did. It also taught me just kind of that there was a world outside of Little Greenville, and just to because really we're pretty not very diverse area or diverse culture.
No,
where I am now.
It's a very
yeah, and so it did teach me a lot about seeing the world.
Yeah, I think that's a large benefit of college in a sense. It's not a direct, like, on the pamphlet, but, like, it is a time where you get to see how other people operate and how people from different areas operate and how interactions, you get to learn a lot, and you have plenty of the times where it's like, why did I do that? And it's like, I'm such an idiot, and I'm going to think about this for, the rest of
30 years later, I'm still worried about it.
But those are all good learning experiences that we kind of, you get from it that you wouldn't otherwise necessarily if you stay in, a TR or a small city. You won't ever, well, I don't say ever, but you're not going to have those direct interactions that get to kind of enhance how you view the world. However you take those, like, everyone takes it differently. From maybe it repulses them and makes them introverted.
Right.
Some people, it makes them more understanding or more outgoing.
Yeah.
But it is a great thing to have that, at least. Along with your amazing education that you get from the university.
Of course. You just leave so
you leave
so polished.
Yeah. you leave knowing all the answers, and you're all knowledgeable about all things. And yeah, perfectly ready.
Ready? Yeah.
Yeah.
For a job.
Yeah, totally. At that time, did you do sorority or anything?
I did it. No? I did it. And it's funny, I don't know that, like, I don't think my parents were really big on me doing it, but I don't remember having a lot of conversation about it. Again, there were some girls that were older that had grown up with us that were there, and, like, they were older than, like, they had graduated even, but they were, like, big leaders in their sorority, and great women and and maybe if I look back at it now, maybe I should have done it. I don't know, but I didn't. Yeah. But I had really good roommates, and, you kind of find your people. And so by my junior year, and we laugh to this day because our group chat is called Crank for Carla, Rachel, Amy, Nicole, and Kimberly. And so was our hamster that lived with us. He was called Crank too.
Getting a hamster is so funny.
in college. It's funny and random.
Yeah, it's random. I gotta say, like, a dog's like normally, or like a cat would be.
We would have to keep up with it. Like, we barely fed the hamster.
I bet that hamster just barely scraped by of.
Yeah, it was just there for, for us to walk by.
Yeah.
So, hey, Crank.
Pretty much. Hopefully he gets a little nibble.
Yeah. One of my roommates was wildlife biology. I think she was like one of two girls at the time.
Yeah.
And just more responsible than probably most anybody on campus. Just an amazing person.
Yeah.
And she had plants through the house, and she brought Crank home, and she had some fish, and so she was kind of that kept things going around there.
She was the responsible.
Yes, we had some. Had to have someone.
It wasn't just y'all and Crank.
Yeah. No, somebody kept Crank alive. It was not us.
That's okay. Well, good. Someone was looking out for him. You know.
So dumb. I know.
I think it's interesting. You describing kind of your experience there, because I think I met people at Clemson, but I think what was more interesting is like people that I knew that I wasn't close with became closer with then, but it wasn't really as much of like brand new people that I've never interacted with before. And I don't know if it's just interesting kind of comparison between the two of.
Now, two of my roommates I'd grown up with.
Oh, okay.
And I had shared with actually, and then another one I wasn't as close to, but she was from there too.
Yeah.
There was just one that
was brand new to the group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When it came down to it. Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting that you go, well, I guess you don't really, you go further. You don't really go away.
Go 45 minutes.
Yeah. But it's still, I think it just, I guess you find people that you normally didn't really hang out with. I guess because you're probably also that time, you know, developing brain-wise and kind of learning your personality. And learning kind of how you go about things. And I guess people that you normally were like, oh, they're not cool or they're not like in my clique, you know, from high school or growing up, it's in a time that doesn't really matter. It just kind of releases like the bias, I get, or the stereotyping people out.
Just kind of enjoying who people are.
Yeah,
they're not so worried about it.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool. Like how I've seen like things develop in my own life now. It's like, oh, that's nice that like I was able to hang out with like them and they're a cool person. And it's like, why did I never talk to them before?
Yeah. Why did I not make that connection?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's so neat learning about people and seeing how they are. But sometimes the quiet kids sitting there are the coolest kids sitting in the room. It's just kind of, they're more introverted, so it's figuring out how to interact with them, or the loud kids that are getting on your nerves and how to deal with them. Yeah,
it goes all ways across the spectrum.
Yeah, just kind of who fits you.
Yeah. When did you meet Glenn there, or did you? Okay, when was that? Early on or later on?
It was Glenn is a year older than me, so it was. It's kind of funny. It was the beginning of my sophomore year that I met Glenn. And, but I met him, he was an RA upstairs, and I met him and like, I was like, I mean, just like literally, hey, this kid's name's Glenn, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, I'm gonna marry that kid. And I didn't talk to him for a long time after that. And then, we became friends, and then we started dating like in October of my sophomore year, and he would have been a junior.
So you just have that immediate like that.
It was so funny. He still laughs when I say that because he had no idea. I mean, he was like barely like, hey. Yeah, just kept it moving. He just was like, whatever. So who was that girl? Yeah. But then we just instantly clicked and we just became besties. And that's kind of how that worked.
That's fun. So, that's a cool story how that works out.
Are you guys, y'all are besties in the beginning, weren't you?
I think Keely would say the same thing, kind of similar to your story of that we had the same class. And then I think she was staring at me every time.
I think she was.
I think she
I'll
was.
go with that.
She's claimed she was staring at her friend, but I would disagree. But then we talked. We texted. Well, we probably Snapchatted, but we talked. And then we just hung out one time, and then she claimed from that point on it was like a done deal for her of like we're gonna like go all the way to the finish line. I don't know. We had a connection, but I wasn't like, wow, this is gonna be the first.
I don't think boys, especially high school boys, for the most part, maybe a few, but I think they're not thinking that far ahead.
No.
Now, girls, they're planning their life. Like, they're figuring out, what they're going to do when they're 35.
Yeah.
But boys, and it never works out that way, but.
No, there's a lot more thinking ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny that she'll say it happened pretty immediately, that it was like, yeah, that's going to be the one. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's worked out.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Oh, I think y'all are adorable. I just love it so much.
The other funny part is Glenn being an RA. I can't really,
that should be funny on many levels.
Yeah,
right?
On several levels. That's pretty funny that he was an RA.
Yes.
Really tight ship.
You can imagine. He was, so he's from New Jersey, and so he comes down, and when I think about his haul, at least when we dated, and I think he might have been an RA the year before, his buddies on the hall, like he had 2 or 3 other friends that were from the Northeast, and everybody else is from Newberry. Like, and so then on the weekends, the kids from Newberry would have like a party.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't always be up on the hall, like it would be somewhere else. But they'd have a party, and then all of Newberry would come. So we've been to tailgates even like this fall.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to people, and they're like, oh yeah, I remember y'all when we would come. And I'm like, and they would have come up from Newberry to the parties every weekend.
See, that's really the greatest thing about being at Clemson. There's always like someone, the alumni network of people you run into. It's pretty cool.
It is cool.
From my limited time of
being an alumni.
Yeah. It's that's the really cool part of going. Like, there is very much like a community to it of like, oh, I remember running into you at some random place. And it's like,
yeah. How do we make this connection?
Yeah,
that is 100% the case.
Yeah,
it's fun though.
So y'all got together and y'all moved. When did y'all get married? Was it after college?
After college, we dated 4 years.
4 years,
and then we got married in. Hold up. Okay, we got engaged the week before I graduated in 94, and we got married in 95. So we've been together 35 years.
Congrats to y'all.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. But it's fun.
I'm not that old.
No, that's what I don't like this now. The birthdays aren't really fun anymore.
Yeah.
After 21, it's been kind of like downhill.
Yeah, you're like, thanks, Lord, for another year. That's
great. Appreciate it. Like, it's just been fun. Every time it's like, I can't be that old. Like, in my head, like, there's times where I'll be like, I'm 18. Like, there's no way I'm 23. Like,
you're big adulting now.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on the way.
Mm-hmm. It's just, subconsciously, I don't believe it, but here we are.
Yes.
Time doesn't stop for anyone.
That's true.
How was figuring out what to do with, like, your career at that time? Because y'all were, I imagine you're kind of talking about getting married or settling, figuring that out. How was that kind of discussion going of what you were planning to do?
Well, like with teaching, it kind of leaves you to where you can pretty much teach anywhere. And I, being the planner that girls can be, right? We were going to move back to the Northeast because that's where I always want to live. That's what I would always say.
Really?
Yeah, I never wanted to live in Greenville.
I
definitely never wanted to live in TR.
Huh? This is always like you want to go Northeast?
From the time I was tiny.
Really?
I can always say, my mom will tell you to this day that I would say I wanted to live in Vermont. I don't know why Vermont. It looked beautiful in a picture, I guess. Who knows? But I say that because I really thought, hey, this kid's from New Jersey. We're going to leave town. He's like, I will never leave the South. Like, I love it. I love it here. And he did marketing. And so it was pretty much like, I can teach wherever. So that kind of made it easy.
Yeah.
And there was not a tug of, I have to be in this certain place, or neither of us really felt that way.
Okay.
That he did love the area. Although, I mean, there were opportunities that he thought he may do other things. And then he ended up in Greenville. He kind of took a job that he wasn't thrilled about, but it led to a job in the pool industry. And really, since that time, he has been doing something in the pool industry.
Yeah.
Since about about the second year out of school. Because when we got married, he was already doing pools stuff. Oh. He was working for a distribution company.
Mm-hmm. So that kind of answered the question, I guess, of he got like his position and you were able to fit in. What did you have something you wanted to go into, like specific, like were you secondary or like?
I was elementary and early childhood, and I wanted like elementary for sure because I thought like, oh, they'll just be so cute. And I guess in this world, and I told you like growing up and in high school and stuff, I always did school. I loved school. I say that like we painted. The run through signs were not like the plastic thing anymore. Like we painted them every week, and we just did school all the time. And so I say that to you, like, so I thought that I would, even though I probably talked too much in class, but I thought that I would go to school and it would be like this perfect little class, right?
Yeah.
And so elementary and early childhood sounded perfect.
Is that what you did the first year out?
Oh yeah, I taught third grade at Simpsonville Elementary.
All right.
And I was in a portable, and everybody who might want to teach probably should listen to this, but this was in 1994. So I had a job really when I graduated. So I go to my little classroom in my portable, and I student taught with 16 children in Pickens, and like everybody they were perfect. But 16 kids, right? I had 27. I get stuck, in this portable 27, and they weren't really sweet. Like, and part of it, I think too, is you have to learn to manage a classroom. But I had some rough little kids. And I remember one day I had this kid who got mad at another kid for who knows, I don't know. I look up, the door slings open of the portable, and that kid has taken off running and climbed under another portable and wouldn't come up. Like just stuff like that. You're like, really, where am I? This is not, and I could probably write a book about stuff. But yeah, I taught there, and then
So that set a stage for like a very interesting, very like eye-opening experience.
Yeah. Everybody wasn't interested to come in and be obedient and do work.
Yeah.
And parents weren't always great.
Is that why the position was open?
Oh, no, it wasn't. I just think that is the world of school.
Oh, okay.
You send your kid thinking that everybody's kid acts like your kid, but you can probably remember from your own time at school that you had that kid in your class that was getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's like normally just there's just different dynamics of kids and the backgrounds they come from. And normally you have at least a kid that's kind of an outlier of either there's not a structure in place there, and so you come to a place that is, fairly highly structured in what you're doing, and they just buck pretty much,
right? And you're exactly right. But when you're the person in charge of that room, you have to pull that because everybody's got to move forward. So, you learn. You just learn. You learn to handle it. I'm sure, be a very different third grade teacher in that portable all these years later than I was.
Yeah, a lot more.
I got many years ahead.
That probably helps quite a bit.
That's what I mean.
When you're walking through the door for the first time, it's a brand new experience.
I broke out in hives before the first day. I've never had hives ever in my life. Never before or never after, but I think I was so nervous about being there on that first day. My whole face was red.
Were you excited to go in and set up your classroom and get all of that?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And I had 4 bulletin boards, and it's not like today because today you can buy pre-made stuff for your bulletin boards. I had 4 bulletin boards, and you had to make it all. And I would stay at night 1 time a month. And when I say at night, I would stay on a Friday night and lock the doors till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I would draw off and color and get everything ready and redo bulletin boards every month so that they would be pretty. Now you'd be lucky for me to put up a bulletin board. But I did. I love that.
Well, that's fun.
My room is cool, but I don't change things right now.
Well, you gotta make sacrifices somewhere. So you did that for a year of teaching there?
Mm-hmm. And then my second year, so they built a new school which is now way down Highway 14, which is Five Forks now.
Okay.
But that area was really not there. I mean, it was starting to grow. So they built a new school called Oakview, and I opened Oakview, which celebrates, I think, their 30th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
So, because this should be my 31st year teaching. So I continued teaching third grade there for like 3 years. And then we moved to Easley, and so I moved to Slater, Marietta. So I went from like a very top, very affluent kind of area in Greenville to Slater, which was Title I. And I went to kindergarten. So I taught kindergarten there I taught kindergarten there for, a couple of years. Then we moved to Florida for a few months. Kind of funny, crazy story. Glenn took another job, but then he got down there and he was traveling all the time and he hated it. And he said, we wanted a family. He didn't want to be gone like 5 days a week. Yeah. So he took another, and then he came back to Greenville.
It's funny to have to move to Florida just to fly around or be traveling all the time.
Yeah. He's down there flying around, and we had just built a house kind of near the school district offices in Pickens. And so I really think like the furniture marks were still on the floor when we moved back to the house that we had just built. So it was just, we came home and my principal hired me back. Nice. So I left. Then he's like, nope. So he hired me back. So then how'd that work? Then I was there a couple more years, and then I had Tommy. So we were married like 7 years.
Okay. And what went into the decision to like finally have kids? What was the like? Would y'all always want kids?
We did. Okay, we did always want kids, but I can't say that we were ever in a hurry. Yeah. Because we just always had fun together. Kind of like I see with you guys. You've been together so long and you're used to going and doing. And so it never was like
a strict time frame.
Just, hey, I have to do this. No. Yeah. It just, okay, let's have a child. And then I really think after Tommy, we're like, okay, we have to have another child because he's going to be terrible if we're not. Yeah. Because he'll be an only child and it won't go good.
I think also just rip the Band-Aid off and like, you need to know the number.
Yeah.
Like, let's be done. And let's.
And I wasn't getting any younger because I was like 29 and 31.
Yeah. That's the only factor we're thinking of is like, it'd be nice to be done around like, 48, 50, like that.
Yeah.
Go to college. We don't have to deal with you anymore.
And I think our parents, I don't know about it'd be your grandparents, but I think my mom and at least my mom, I think, was in her 40s when I graduated from college. So
that's kind of nice. I mean,
it's a little bit different. Yeah,
it's a little bit different, but it's kind of nice.
Yeah. So, and it would, I don't think, and other people may tell you differently, but don't ever think that you'll always be looking for that perfect time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's goes for a lot of things of getting married or engaged or job. It's just never going to be like, wow, this is great. Even getting our dog, it was like, that was like, there's a lot of reasons that not to, and a lot of reasons, that we wanted to, but it was like, well, screw it, here we go.
Why not?
Yeah.
The sky's not going to part and tell you to do it.
It'd be nice if it did, though. That'd be helpful.
Yeah. So remember at Tommy's wedding, the band that played at the rehearsal dinner. So the little guy that played the bass, he was my principal that I worked for forever, and he hired me 3 times. He hired me back after the children were born. But I was home. I stayed home in between. Yep. So.
Wait, did you like that kind of time of having to be home and like kind of really enjoy it?
I wouldn't take anything for that time.
How long did you stay?
I was home for I was home 4 years, I think, plus I was home 4 years because I think Sarah was 2 when when she went back. And it was really funny because Mr. Cole called and said he had a position and did I want it? And I thought, well, good, I'll just go back part-time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, no, it's a full-time job. And Glenn happened to be home that afternoon and he heard it. And he was like, she'll take it. So I went on back. So it was pretty funny.
He got the boot out of the...
Yeah, he's like, done.
Yeah.
No, actually, it was really a sweet time and it was good. It was just kind of, if I was going back, it was time.
Yeah.
For me to go back.
Well, it's kind of like you got a rhythm and like a schedule and you need some... I imagine that it's tricky, you know.
Yeah, well, and Tommy was headed, he did 4K and he needed to probably go do 4K and not be sitting under me all the time. Mm-hmm. And then he was headed to school anyway. And I know Sarah was younger, but I don't think Glenn was going to let me stay like till she was
just
5.
Keep dragging.
But I think, Dylan, if I were saying that, and I don't know, but I think that the importance of that, the importance of being able to be home, especially when they're young, and some moms would even say high school, right? That I think when they're young, you know, it was very calm. Home was calm. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the blessing of that. It's because you were never in this rush to get out, to get everything done for the next day. Here, let me give you a bottle and you have to go to bed because we have to rush tomorrow. Yeah. And I think that's the blessing of that.
Of having that time. Well, having someone kind of there to manage everything do that job of, there is stuff you have to do around the house. There's 2 kids you have to take care of. There's, and otherwise you're both kind of coming home from something.
And you're exhausted.
And you're tired from that. Mm-hmm. And it's a tricky, balance.
It is. It's hard this day and time. Yeah. It is. But I just think, you know, we just did things to make it work. At one point we had 1 car. Yeah. And you think, well, that's so dumb. That was in the 2000s. But yeah, we just said, hey, that's what I said to Glenn after Tommy was born. I said, what do I have to do to stay home? And he was like, well, you can sell your car. And I said, is that why I'm like having to work? And he was like, yeah. I said, okay, sold. And we literally, he was born February 5th. And that car, I remember like February 14th, somebody was coming to
pick it up, take it on.
Take the car.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got it done. Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be an interesting decision. I think those times are it's very important. It's more just a challenge of, well, financially it's the biggest one, obviously. Yeah. Clearly. And then also just what Keely wants to do. I think those first couple of years she would probably want to be there, but I think kind of that like, you know, after it's kind of like I want to go. You know, she has her own goals and
be me.
Yeah.
And that's fair. I think I agree with that. Mm-hmm. I think that if she does the event job, you know, that she can get established and somehow I do think I think you could get spread very thin with that, but at the same time I think you could fit kids nicely into that.
That would be ideally how that goes. I think having that flexibility to even talk to a couple people that now do their own business and whatnot, and that flexibility of if I don't want to work, you know, well, not if I don't want to, but if I have obligations like kids, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you know, Tuesday, Thursday, I can figure it out. Like I can put all my work on that day because I'm in control of what I'm doing.
Exactly.
So hopefully that opens a new door for possibilities would be my idea of what can do in the range. But it's always interesting to hear how people kind of navigated the time. Yeah. Because it's different for everyone. Like
it is. And some people feel like, I even have friends my age that were like, no, I really want to work. I'm better at work and more structured at home. Yeah. But I think I enjoyed it just because it was, I don't know, I feel like I've read about 50,000 books. You know, just remember we read so often and it was just a calm time.
Well, I mean, it worked out. Tommy's, got a big brain on him now.
He is what he is.
Yeah.
He was hatched.
Getting back to school, did you kind of pick up where you left off and find kind of the flow, or did it take some time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, when I went back, actually, I did this like reading intervention job, and so I just taught reading for kids who were struggling. Okay. And the interesting piece of that was like really you just teach a lot of reading in elementary school anyway, so you just kind of pick up on it and do what you need to do to help children.
So it wasn't like a difficult transition trying to get back into it.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice to make it seamless. It makes it helpful on you quite a bit.
Yeah. The worst thing was headed back. You'll appreciate this. Tommy, because he had been home and not really he did like little preschool for a little bit, like a couple of days a week or something. But he gets to school, to daycare, and he catches like some stomach virus literally almost every week. I used all of my days. Glenn used all of his days, and my mom was still working and used all of her work, like for the year or whatever, because Tommy was sick so much. So it about killed me on that level. But as far as school.
Yeah.
It was a routine.
Yeah, see, that's another part that you don't prepare for.
Yeah. You don't think that you're going to get everything coming and going. You're going to catch it too.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
At some point.
You're now sick with them, and it's like, great.
Yeah.
Now it's a whirlwind.
That's great.
So going back to school, and then now at that point, what'd you go to next?
So so I stayed there, and I went back. I did intervention. I ended up teaching 4th grade for about 3 or 4 years. I actually taught Tommy. He came through, and then my principal was retiring. And he asked me if I wanted to go back to kindergarten. Actually, I don't think he gave me a choice. He said, I'm sending you back to kindergarten. So I went back to kindergarten for 3 or 4 years. It all kind of runs together. I had a great experience. I loved Slater. I really enjoyed everybody that I've taught with through the years. I have to say that. And then my assistants that I always had in kindergarten were always just wonderful people. So that was fun. But I can remember standing in my kindergarten class with, 27 children. And I could see out my window from where we were on the end of the school, and kids that I had taught previously had children now in kindergarten. I'm that old, right? I've been doing it on and off for so long. And, but they were selling drugs like out the window. Like, and so I've called them up to the gate, to the fence times before and been like, they're like, you sound just like you did in kindergarten. I'm like, you need to go somewhere else and, this is dangerous. And so I just thought, I'm a little tired. By this point, about 15 years or so had passed. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. And so I decided I'd started my master's right when I got out of college, and then I didn't finish it. I got sick. I have implants in my vocal cords, and I got like this virus hit and all this stuff. So I just was like, I did kind of stop and figure out all that. Yeah. So all that to say, so I said, I need to go back and do my master's. Well, you could get a free, basically, I think I paid some, but other pieces, like I could get the add-on of second language. And I love the reading piece of that. Yeah. So I did that. And then we were transitioning to maybe a different principal. I don't really remember, but that's when I met Ashley Zemer and was like, okay, I went to a meeting and said, okay, I think I want to do this, but I always thought I would be in kindergarten. I mean, always thought I'd be in elementary school for that. Yeah. And then she calls and says, hey, I've got a job for you, but what about being between middle school and high school? And I was like, okay, where? So then I ended up at 1 year between Greer Middle and Riverside High.
Huh.
And so the next year, I just went to Riverside. And that first year, I could not stand high school. But once, by the end of the year, I realized that they're just tall kindergartners and they need help and guidance and care and love and patience and all the things too. And I ended up loving it. So I have been there. I think this is either my 12th or 13th year in high school. So I've taught every grade except second. Meaning, when I say taught, like either working with them in intervention or something too, like not fully, but I've taught every grade except second. Well, I helped in first, second and seventh, I think. So, yeah, because I did fourth. I taught third, fourth, kindergarten, first. Helped in fifth. Yeah, every grade except second and seventh. Isn't that crazy?
That is pretty wild.
At some point. Now, most of the high school stuff would be, and middle school would all be with ESOL kids.
What does ESOL stand for?
It means English to speakers of other languages. But we've changed it. I'll call it ESOL to you because I say it all the time. But really, we're now MLs. They're multilingual learners. They've been ESLs, English of second language speakers. It's just
keep changing the acronym.
English language learners. Within that.
Wouldn't want to make it the same acronym.
No, I mean, I've only been doing it, 13 years. I've changed it 7 times.
Should never be simple.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And so in that, you finished your master's and then did that?
Yeah. Well, I started and I finished my master's that May. So you could kind of go, I had enough classes to go ahead and then finish my master's.
Gotcha.
So the kids were in 6th and 8th grade, I think.
What was kind of the difference between going from elementary school to, because the high school, I understand your point of that it is kind of like big kindergartners in the sense of, I would say they need even more structure than kindergarten.
Yeah, that might be true. More downtime,
more guidance.
Yeah.
But what was like kind of the things you picked up on from that of like?
Well, the difference is because that job is very unique too. I went from, so when I went to high school, I am teaching kids I would say all of them, none of them had been in the United States probably at the max 3 years. Like I would not have had any children because if they came in elementary school or middle school, even if they were still speaking second language, even if maybe they were struggling in language, they would have been mainstreamed into regular classes. I wouldn't have, because I'm pulling the new kids, the ones that are the new.
So these are kids like between just a few years in the like U.S. like.
Yeah.
Or is there like a time frame to like slot them into the program?
No, but every kid that comes in, so federal law, there is so much federal law around multilingual learners. And so every kid that comes in, if they have another language on this form that they have to fill out, we pull them immediately and we have to screen them. And so then, just based on their ability of learning language is you kind of send them out, but you only have them 1 class period. So they're not, even if let's say they come in and speak full Arabic, they still have to go to 3 other classes in English. I mean, they're only doing English with me too. Yeah. But we can at least translate a little bit more in the minute. So if you think kindergartner, you think they really need guidance. Like American high school, just how much different that is. They don't know what a pep rally is. Yeah. Everything, a lot more surrounds school in the United States than in other countries. Yeah, I can see that. I think it's probably kind of making an assumption here, but teaching kindergarten, you're teaching how to read essentially. So I imagine that's helped kind of doing it now even.
The culture part's the biggest interesting aspect of learning's learning essentially across the board. You know, like, but the culture aspect of if you're coming here, like, and it's like, wow, I'm coming from, you know, even like Italy, and it's like,
it's still different.
It's still pretty different on what's happening here.
It is. Culturally, a lot of countries around the world, what I see, now my family would laugh about this because they're like, oh, Mom thinks she's the culture expert. But I will say, I have seen kids from many places in the world. And I would say, based on my limited cultural knowledge of what I have learned through the years, though, is that family is important in the United States. Family is not nearly as important in the United States as it is to the rest of the world. Very much, or many places. Like, family's everything. And everything kind of runs through them. Everybody kind of helps raise everybody else. Does that make sense? Like grandmas, aunts, uncles, everybody has kind of got their hand there. Yeah. Helping them.
Yeah. I think it's more normal for, I think European families, normally you have children living longer with the parents and more of a, I guess, more interlinked for longer than here.
I would say that. And I also think, you know, I mean, our grandparents are important to us for sure. But there is still the expectation, like one time a week you're going and eating with those families. You're tied into their homes.
Yeah. Whereas it can be more of like, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Yeah, sorry. Terrible. Sorry, Grandma, we hadn't called you in a while.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. What's been the most, how much do you kind of play in helping kind of adapt? Or like...
To be honest, I probably play a pretty big role in that. I will say, like, it depends on the language level of a child when they come in as to how much, like, full out reading. I mean, we definitely have to do some phonics stuff. We have to do, think you're flipping a symbol language. Arabic it's all symbols right to left. Japanese is left to right, bottom to top. Goes this way. So, and it's all symbols. So you are, and then like, and some of them are tonal, but like Korean, Vietnamese is incredibly tonal languages. So because of that, then we're trying to give, like, here's a hard A sound, like a long and short vowel. You know, we need you to say this whole letter, and it has nothing to do with tone. Yeah. So you do spend some time with that. But what I typically see, if they're very well educated in first language, they will flip second language very quickly. And so then that comes to culture. I spend a lot of time, like, prepping them of, okay, we're going to an assembly, and this is what this means, and this is how we do it, and this is why, and this is Veterans Day or MLK Day, what we stop and we do. And it's not that we're not reading and building content and all that, but we are spending, you know, they're dressed up for Spirit Week, and the kids are like, we wear uniforms to school, and they're just like blown up by any of that. And often they have to be there a few years before they'll want to play a sport, or they'll want, and on top of that, I've yet to meet a kid, no, I'm not saying, but based on my experience, who's come from a place where, you know, you play every night and every weekend, and you have to play club before you can actually play at school because you won't get on the sports team at school. Like, there's none of that. They don't. And that's really hard to comprehend for them. Yeah.
That would be the most interesting, the transition aspect of...
yeah, I mean, a football game.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, why are they running through that sign?
Yeah, well, football's a really unique one because it's not even like a
it's
universal,
not a world thing. Yeah.
You know,
so you can just imagine, like, some things that go on, and they're like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So
and
even the lunch line. Just going through just all of the basics of that, because it depends. A lot of kids go home at lunch. A lot of kids, school is done at lunch. They just go home anyway.
Yeah.
None of them get free lunch anywhere in the world.
Huh. That's it's
pretty eye-opening.
It is. It's just one of those things. It's just kind of fascinating that you don't think about outside of your outside of your realm of
a long way from TR.
Yeah. Yeah. You just don't think about coming from, Middle East or wherever you get pulled from.
And then when you think Middle East, when you start thinking about actual cultures that are completely counterculture to anything.
Oh, yeah.
In America. Okay, so I had a kid come in recently from Dubai, all right? Mm-hmm. But there are some other kids sitting in there from Lebanon, really Syria to Lebanon. But anyway, but you can't set them together because they're girls and boys. And they will not speak to each other.
Yeah. I bet you also get country or kind of backgrounds that don't like country A and B. A and B don't like each other. And
you don't think about that in the world.
And you don't really, you just don't, it's not a cross your mind, especially in even a high school or middle school kind of environment. It's not like, it's so what?
But when we think of our country and you think, oh gosh, this group doesn't like this and this group doesn't, and these people are mean to each other and this is going on. But I don't think that the United States, the United States loves the United States. Mm-hmm. And so they're not looking out past themselves. But what they don't realize is literally, if something's going on in the world, there's entire groups. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. They will not speak to each other. I've had to move children. I've had to say things like, no, but you're here in America and we're going to love each other. We've had to just kind of.
Do you have to work with the teachers in the other classes to kind of explain, what?
I mean, sometimes with culture, if a kid comes in, especially with a big, long story, we definitely I try to give them that. But again, the teachers are tied to law. And so what I mean by that is they have to legally accommodate those kids no matter what. So, so let's say a kid just is not picking up really well, then they have to build accommodations in their classroom to make sure that kid's successful. So it's a lot. It's a lot on them.
Yeah.
It's really changed.
Is every school have okay.
So for me, it's just me. And I have a guy that my principal, he has his ML certification. So he helps me one period a day just to give me help because I keep paperwork for 200 children. But I don't see them all.
Yeah.
But then, Berea has 8 ML teachers. And we can serve really, so their population is higher than 800 that are in ML.
Huh. So you have 200 kids that go through your program only?
Okay, so I have 200, and it gets complicated, but I have probably within my program that would fall for us to test and federal fall. Okay, I have, I think we're testing roughly, and a lot have moved away, but I think we're testing 96, and we're at 107 at the beginning of the semester. But the rest of them, once they're out, we have to monitor them for 4 years, which means that's still paperwork that matches. We just have to do it. So there's over 200 of them. But that school's probably 49% second language, meaning that 49% of the kids in that building, whether they are in MLs or not, speak another language. At one time, I think we had 52 languages. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I just wouldn't think at a Riverside or you would have that.
It's the industry. So with BMW and all of the subsidiary countries, they come, and then Michelin is sitting there, Mitsubishi is there, Samsung's down the road. So that's kind of where all that comes from.
That's interesting. District lines, I guess.
It really is. And so it's a way, way, way different community than then Slater.
It's interesting how that all falls kind of together.
Yeah.
What goes on there.
I love both communities. I really did. It's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all it is. It's just different, but it's not like, I'd say it's more interesting if nothing else.
It is interesting.
What's been the most like kind of helpful thing to like kind of through your experience of how to help them kind of, I don't know about integrate or like, but what's like been useful?
You know what? I think one of the biggest things is to be warm. They need to know, okay, I've found somebody who cares that I'm here and that is going to be kind to me. It doesn't matter what language it is. It can be, and I think that's probably with anyone, but I really think just if they know that they come in and that I am happy to see them, the other kids around that room are happy to see them, and that it's a warm place to be. Once they're comfortable, we can do anything. We can move. But they have to know that you care. Yeah. And I think if they know that, I don't think you can care so much about them that that's what equals success. Like, you can love them and care about them, but you also have to have expectations from them. But I think the bottom line is until they feel like that they're in a place that they're safe in and warm, then they're fine. If it's not like a receptive environment. Exactly. Think about places you've been. You can, you know, the places that you're the most comfortable is a place that people make you feel the most welcome. Yeah. I think that's probably the dividing line of that. Yeah. Simplest. Simplest. It is. It's very simple, but it's true. Yeah. You know where you feel uncomfortable. You're like, oh, let's not go back there. Yeah. I mean, I say that to Glenn. Yeah. I don't want to go back there. Yeah, I mean, it's honest. What's been the biggest change you've seen through like the school system over the kind of years? Well, when in 1994, so in 1995, No Child Left Behind was passed through George Bush's government, and in 1995, when they did that. And it seemed good on paper, although somebody thought that it was just a great idea, that like the best thing to do was to test kids. By doing that, like they were trying to strand out and say, you know, this group of people that say Spanish, these Spanish speakers aren't left behind. We're going to test to make sure they're just right here with everyone else. And that sounded good on paper, but we have taken that to the point, and you do not know a time in school where you were not tested from the time you went in the door to the time you left, and always having to do this, that, and the other. And I think it gets worse every year. And I think that has, we use that for all things. We use the numbers, the data for all things. And yeah, our numbers are important, but sometimes we can manipulate them and make them how we want them to. Well, that's stats lie. Yeah, exactly. You know, and so because of that, and we got to keep these numbers, it's just interesting. Well, it just seems like a hindrance to teachers in a sense of, I need my numbers to. Oh, they're on you constantly. Be X, and it's they're not. It's not reflective necessarily of what maybe a kid is learning actually on paper, because you could have someone come in that's, you know, below, and they might score low still, but they could have gained from. But it's not reflective on you, because now it's like, well, they still have a low score. Absolutely, and that is all the truth. And what happens is you're teaching to a test instead of teaching organically to children. Yeah, it's like getting the study guide before the test, and the study guide's the. If you just read the study guide, it's a test. So, like, yeah, you know, we call it the dumbing down of America. Is what it really, really is, because you're spending all of this time. Elementary school right now does this thing called Mastery Connect for every single unit and for every single test. And it is just a lot. It's a lot on everybody. I think it's just, I don't know, it's hard to figure out any way to do it, of what, I've never experienced anything differently. So it's hard to have a perspective on how you could do it differently. But it does seem like a flawed system in its sight. It definitely is. Understanding, I think it is a good idea.
Like, I think the idea everyone...
In theory, it's a good idea. But what happens and what we see as time has gone on, right, is let's say you have to, every biology class has an end of course test. You have to take it too. Okay. All right. So Dylan's class, they are doing really good. And the teacher's like, okay, we got this. We're rolling. Then all of a sudden, all these people start passing that test. Well, then it behooves them to, well, we got to raise the bar or we got to change it up. And so they're going to make more money on it. So they redo these tests all the time. And it just becomes, it just kind of gets a little ridiculous. You know.
Has there ever been talk of changing to like a different system? Or like, is there any?
I think we all wish.
No, it's just kind of like stuck.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot to it, but yeah.
I mean, it's not a simple thing to.
Well, what's happening? What you? Well, and you don't have kids yet, but you haven't seen. There's so many parents who are now choosing to homeschool. There's so many parents who are choosing private school. There's so many parents who are choosing to do co-ops and do other things, and the kids are equally successful, and they're not putting that extra burden of testing on their kids. They've had, and that's why a lot of them do that.
Yeah. I'd say that's going to be an interesting part of over the next 10 years of what happens in the schooling system of homeschooling and co-ops and charter, private, all the other words we come up with for other schools.
Everything alternative to public
alternative schools. How that affects everything.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that's going to be an interesting... The idea of co-oping and homeschooling just seems so much more like appealing in a sense of how it functions. It just makes more sense to like the schooling idea of like they're going to learn what they're learning because it has a purpose of like, trying versus like I think everyone's now like public school experiences. I'm taking a standardized test every single year. That's not really...
Yes, and the push and the push and the push for that. And I tutor a child right now that I just love to pieces. And he's middle school, and he now is doing co-op. Why? Because every afternoon or every time he had one of those tests, and he would start it, and he would get so anxious about worrying that he was just not going to do well. And he was very capable. It wasn't that was the pressure he felt.
Yeah.
That it just didn't work for him anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, why do that with children?
No, I think if you can go the alternative route, I think it is a plausible option.
I do too.
I think the only benefit that public school has is you get a wide range of experiences from people, like people-wise. You get a lot of growing that you wouldn't necessarily... Because right now, alternative schools are predominantly going to be, probably more fluent wide if you're going to a private school. Or co-op, you can probably have a little bit more diversity. But public school, you're thrown in with everyone.
You are.
And I think that's
but
something.
Sometimes, but still, you think by high school you're stranded out anyway. Not necessarily by diversity, but definitely by ability. So the kids that don't want to be there, they're not sitting in your classes. So you're still kind of...
Yeah, they're still kind of...
It has to be sorted to be able to push.
Yeah.
Now, there's different schools of thought on that, but I promise that it works better. Because what happens if you're sitting in a class, everybody's together, but this little group is really struggling, you're going to spend more of your time
trying to get them up to... Yeah.
So everybody kind of comes down.
Yeah. It doesn't... Yeah, it more pulls down than pushes up, in a sense.
Even behavior-wise.
Yeah.
With little kids. The kids that wouldn't normally misbehave, if they see other kids getting by with it, they kind of...
They follow that line. Yeah. Yeah, there's much more of a dragging down.
Yeah.
That's... Yeah. Interesting. Schools are just an interesting thing. How the dynamics going on in there. It's a tough environment of what to do with it all. I just don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing when we have kids and talk about it on what to do. Especially now. The other part that I find interesting is just the drama around schools in the term of the kind of political landscape of you have You get Snapchat and you get like bomb threats where you have the kids that will post something, and then you have school shootings happening. You don't really hear about them a ton in terms of if you're going to a different
private school.
Yeah.
And I kind of always thought that at times, oh well, they're in a private school, but then there have been some.
I bet there have been some. I don't think zero.
Yeah, a few recently. But you're right. I just think the world is changing, and it's interesting, and it'll be interesting. I don't know if I had to do it again. I do think every teacher my children had was influential on them. 99.9%, very positive.
Yeah.
But if I were starting again, I don't know that I would do public school. Not because of the teachers or even necessarily the children. I just am not a big fan of standardized testing.
I'm not. I don't think it helps you. I mean,
It doesn't help you grow.
I would be the first proponent. I would game that system so much because I was smart enough to game it. Like, there just wasn't, like...
Right.
I was talking to my dad the other day, and I was like, I realized they would put all the vocab words, they would just copy and paste them onto the test, and so I'd memorize the first two or three words of each thing, and I'd never learn, like, what... But I was like, all I have to know is that it starts with this, and that's going to be the answer. Like, there's no point in me doing anything else. So I just look for the pattern and just recognize the pattern and copy and paste it.
I love it.
But, like, I imagine I bet Tommy did, like, I bet every kid that we talked to, just, like, it's, anyone that went through it, you could find a way to just, I'm looking for the laziest way to get through this. What's the fastest, most effective way that I can get my grade and move on because I'm bored, essentially.
Because you're not, you're not being pushed. Yes. And I remember Sarah told me one time that in her chemistry class, they did one experiment, the entire semester, and like he actually just did it and showed it to him.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh. But now I see, like, they do, like, where we are, the kids are doing experiments all the time, and it just may depend on the teacher.
I think it does depend on the teacher somewhat, but the thing with teachers is it's hard. One, it's hard to be a teacher. Two, what's your really incentive to be, a teacher if you're, unless you have an absolute passion for kids, you're not going there to make big bucks, it's not.
It's kind of a calling to go do,
So you have to have some calling, but now you're dealing with so many other factors of, I'm kind of be interested, but I bet in the, late 90s, you didn't have parents as many, at least just like swarming a teacher. I don't think it was probably zero, but.
Funny you say that. When we opened Oakview, the parents were like, it was crazy. The moms didn't work. And they were there all the time, and they wanted to know all the things constantly. And I don't know if that was just that environment or what, but it was very, very interesting.
Did you have that when you went to the next place as well?
Then I went to Slater. No, but it was a different because those parents trusted you.
Yeah.
They knew what you were doing. And these parents weren't, it wasn't just, me, it was just the way of the school.
Yeah. I'd be curious on how much it was like because it's a new school.
I wonder because you didn't.
I'm less trusting.
Yes, and that school was brand new, so 5 schools were feeding in, and they didn't know anyone, so that could have something to do with it too.
I mean, as a parent, that would be an interesting of who I don't know anything about this. This isn't like a severe that's been there forever or whatever.
Right. Good point.
Whitehampton or whatever it is. It's like that could be in it, but it is interesting that you make a point that they it's not a new.
It's not very very well educated parents and very high expectations for those children. Kind of not and much more individualistic. Not.
But in your childhood, you probably didn't there weren't parents the same way.
Not that I remember. I mean, I was very much, you go to school, you do what the teacher tells you to do, you work. And I remember doing hours of homework every night on top of whatever activities we were doing. It didn't matter. You came home and you were still doing them. It was still expected to do. And if something was wrong, it was my fault. For sure, which was usually the truth. It was my fault.
Probably not wrong.
They were correct.
But I think that's the interesting of that. Like, it's the responsibility was on you solely. It was not the teacher didn't do this or that, but it was like, well, what did you do?
Absolutely. What did you do wrong? Yeah. Unfortunately, on top of that, what we see all the time is, well, there's some big issue. Okay, well, I know, but you have to at some point. I know things are hard. But you're going to have to learn to we need you to take some responsibility, even though it's hard, but you've got to move forward. You've got to grow beyond that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's a challenge. I mean, high school is just much more. That's an interesting one of like just how much outside you can have going on, especially in you have like a Greenville where it's very split. You have affluent and you have
it is very different,
and you have kids that are dad's CEO of something, and then you have a kid living in a condemned house, like
yeah.
And from a teacher and like administrative side, it's kind of difficult to see. It's hard to see one, what's going on outside, but two, it's hard to. How can I even make this? Like, how can I connect with them? Almost
right.
Of like
right.
Because going to the warmth aspect of I want this to be a learning environment, but it's a challenge.
It is. And it's different in a classroom of 30 kids and in my classroom where these kids, they have different backgrounds, but they all have the same issue, right? So they're coming in
with something to bond on.
Yes, because they've got to move forward. Yeah. And that's a different place to run than a class of 30. But again, in a class of 30, even with their different backgrounds, often what you see is even this kid that's more poor. A lot, like they do have extra issues.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, your affluent kids also have issues too. You just don't have to. They hide it better.
Yeah, I shouldn't. It's not so much that.
No, but I know what you're saying. It is putting two totally
different
groups of kids together and trying to figure out how to work it.
I think perspective-wise is what.
Oh yeah, what they bring to the table and what the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that affluent. It's not going to have issues, but it's not going to be like, am I going to eat when I get home?
Yeah.
It's not
food, clothing, shelter.
It's not the same.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Golly, I had a question. What was I thinking? I can't think about it. It was, anyways, go to something else. To kind of pivot a little bit. With your kind of parenting, did you draw a lot from getting to like be able to teach and kind of see what worked and what didn't work? Or did y'all how did y'all kind of go about figuring out how your parenting style, I guess?
I don't know. I'm not sure we had a parenting style. That's a good question. Actually, I don't know. I don't know that I saw it. I learned this in teaching and I'm not going to do this. Probably more than anything, I'm like, oh, I've got to hurry up and have children because I'm not naming my children all these names. But short of that, I think with parenting with Glenn, I think my parents were very. They just trusted us to do what we were supposed to do. And though they had expectations and we didn't want to disappoint them, they didn't really micromanage us either. There were things like I had to clean the house a lot. My brother actually, my dad started building houses and at 13 or 14 years old, my brother would help and learn to build houses and built his house.
Yeah.
But many others too. I say that because it wasn't like it was lackadaisical at home ever. But at the same time, as long as we were just doing what we were supposed to do, and mean, they just trusted us.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that Glenn and I raised our kids from that perspective. Our kids weren't perfect by far, and we know that, but at the same time, we were not there we never thought of parenting as micromanaging them and trying to control them.
Yeah.
We tried to say, okay, our best line when they were little is good things happen to good boys and girls. Make good choices.
Yeah.
If you make it hard on yourself, then you're going to be the one to pay for that.
Yeah. So giving them that kind of rope to like.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I know we didn't raise perfect children, but at the same time, it was pretty easy. Now, somebody who has other children might say, this kid behaved differently and you would have to do it differently. Yeah. Glenn is very laid back. So I think that helped too.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Having kind of a solid, steady presence there.
Always.
Yeah. Is pretty helpful. Also just for kids.
You're kind of like that though. You're pretty laid back and pretty solid and steady. And
I would like to think so.
Yeah. I think so. That's what I see.
Yeah. I think the kids, I always find that an interesting point of like, it depends on the kid. And I don't know, like, it's an interesting.
Well, it's just that idea that, okay, think of it like this. You have a child that comes home from the hospital and that you have this baby and this baby sleeps every night. I mean, they just sleep through the night every night.
Yeah.
And you think, gosh, I am amazing. I'm just so calm. I keep this baby so calm.
I'm so great at what.
And I'm just a good parent. I can get them to bed and they go to sleep. And then you have another child. And all of a sudden, that kid's eyes never close. And you're like, what happened to my goodness as a parent? So I say that, like, you're going to get different personalities in the home that is going to change that. So you're not always guaranteed.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think it's also, though, like, I mean, it's genetics. So, like, I can imagine, things that, I know my life, and, I know Keely's life, and I know some parts about my parents' life, to where we would somehow get something in the ball field.
It's going to be similar to what we're going on.
Personality-wise.
I think that's probably some truth.
It has to be somewhere in the ballpark,
Yeah. There is, and probably how you react to things also leads to how they think it's going to be and how they're going to react.
Yeah.
And we didn't. I don't know. I don't think we had a lot of.
Well, I think the hardest part is in the moments. The talking about it beforehand. So, drawing it on the chalkboard's easy when you're doing the game plan.
Yeah.
I think that in the moment things are the much more difficult.
I'm sure there's things that we probably need to apologize to the children for, but
I think you have to have those moments, though. I think those are the most important. I guess thanks to our parents that we talk about, and it's just like, but without those moments, it's just like, if you could do it perfect, then like, I don't.
Then why do it? No, just kidding.
Like if you did it perfectly, then I guess you'd be a bestseller and talking about it constantly. And you wouldn't have any. I bet you have very unique. Well, I bet you'd have like very personalities funneled into
just perfect little robots.
But you need the parts where it's like, man, maybe I should have not, just done whatever X, Y, or Z.
That's true.
Now it's funny, and we get to laugh about it, and we wouldn't have that otherwise.
We wouldn't have a story to tell.
Exactly, it'd be boring.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I think those are. I think it'd be very hard if you went at it with the mindset of I'm going to be perfect at this.
Oh yeah.
I think I'd just be like, Now jumping back to, I remember my question.
Oh.
What do you think the perfect class or the ideal class size would be?
I think 20.
20? That's really funny. Suzanne Brown, she said 19.
Are you serious?
Yeah. She said once you get to about that one extra or kind of around there, it just does something to the classroom that.
She's right. You can add in, like if you, like 23, 22, 23 children, when 24 walks through the door, it feels like 50. It's really weird.
There's something about that one extra kid that just
you can tell. And when you go into those classrooms when there's 32 kids in there and you just can't move, you can't do anything.
Is that just from like trying to? It's more from like a management perspective, I guess, of like being able to handle everyone.
Yeah, and just keeping up with. It just gets so big it becomes a crowd more than really where you feel like they're learning.
What's like the average class size for?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, they may say like 24. So, but if you take an AP class or some of those extra little classes, that's going to skew that a little bit.
Oh, so it's just average.
So it could be.
So it could be like 30.
Oh yeah, a lot of 27, 28, 29.
Well, that's what I was wondering because, I would think it's higher than 24.
Yeah. Yeah, 24 is good. Or 24. I mean, but really, a class of 20 is imagine 20 to 30.
Yeah,
that's a big jump. I know that's all. You're like, well, 10, but really, you can do a lot more with 20 kids.
Well, I mean, think about trying to talk in front of 20 people versus 30 people. I mean, it's a different ballgame. It's a different ballgame. It's different from how much. I think just from what you can kind of. You feel like more in a tucked away, I would imagine, in a sense of like if I do something, it's harder to like catch you. In a sense.
You really don't know what everybody's doing.
I think also the other point she made was that it's harder to have a learning environment because have so many eyes on you, so you're not as in much of a warm place of if you're in the 20, you probably know some of them. You can see them, yeah, and you're not as scared to be wrong. Versus when I don't want to talk in a lecture hall of like 100 people. Like,
right. Same thing. Yeah.
Like, it's not
absolute
fun.
Truth.
Like, not a good time. So I can't, and that's at like 20. So, like 15, 16.
Yeah. Even worse.
Even worse. Like.
And think about like in the rows in high school. If there's 30 kids sitting in that classroom, at least those 6 in the back or 8 in the back aren't tuned into you at all. They're far enough back. You can kind of see those first rows, and they're far enough back. But you're like,
Yeah. I would normally end up in the back because of being like an M.
And so, like, because you'd be in ABC order.
Yeah, so I'd either be in the back or like, I was normally in the back, towards like the middle or back. But yeah, it's, I'm not an ideal student. Like anything I talk about from high school, I was not.
You were there.
I was there.
Absorbing.
I was absorbing. I wasn't necessarily tuned in to whatever.
And typically teachers teach because they love teaching and they want to do all things teaching and they want to do their subject, and not everybody feels that way, right? So, but as long as you get something, but I really feel like then we need to teach kids to think. We need to teach kids to problem solve. We need to teach kids how to find information, how to grow, and not worry about teaching them to what's on this test. And everybody's world's going to be right on that test,
right.
So that's the difference.
The teaching to understand an idea is a lot different than teaching to pass a test.
Exactly. Because things are going to change in life. I mean, think about how much technology is changing. So how do you get to that? How do you move to that point? What do you do? Much different way of teaching than teaching just, here's these facts. I need you to know this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like memorization over an understanding of something. It's not.
So see how you're changing what they're growing. That's why I would lean toward the other venues.
Alternative. Yeah. I completely agree with that. It's not, I think it's also nowadays you have more time to do hobbies or something if you're in a co-op or if you're in
True.
You're able to explore more interest. Like if you're a very sciencey person, you can kind of go find avenues to go, maybe do something other than I have to be in school for 5 days out of the week. Yeah. Private school and charter schools aren't exactly the same, but at least those, they funnel you directly into the college.
Yeah.
Only. But public school's kind of doing the same.
But private, those typically, if you are going to one of those schools, it's because your parent is interested in education.
Mm-hmm.
Where public schools, you take everyone. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And so if they weren't interested in education, they're not interested in it for their children.
No.
You know? So
with those schools, what was the COVID experience like to start with? Was it, 'cause
so COVID with me was nuts. I would meet with my kids every day, but remember, we're going back to they did not so many were second language.
Yeah.
So it really turned into me trying to tutor them through what their assignments were and what had to be done because
mm-hmm.
I guess, I could have tried to teach reading, but we were really just trying to get by because it happened so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed kids to graduate. I needed kids on. I had a kid that worked downtown at Publix in McBee Station downtown. And he would never get on, but I knew he needed to graduate.
Yeah.
And so I would go down there and be like, hello, is so-and-so available? I'm like, yeah, I know he's busy, but he's not gotten on the computer in a week, and he needs to get on his classes. So I did a lot of that. I did a lot of chasing kids.
Well, that's pretty impressive on your part of going that extra mile.
Yeah, but if I needed that, so I had a kid, once we went back that 1 or 2 days a week, he moved into the United States and they're like, but we told him there was no room. And I said, what did you do? Well, we gave him a computer. Okay. Well, we hadn't heard from him. And I'm like, okay, well, did he speak any English? No. Well, then he can't turn your computer on. He can't even. So I got a coach to go with me. Actually, I was just going and they made the coach go with me down to the place where we knew his parents worked. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, and I asked, and nobody would admit that they worked there, which was fine. Then I said, okay, well, if by chance they work here, will somebody tell them to send such and such child to school? And I told them at school, I said, they have to come. And so anyway, he's graduated. He's got his own business now and he's fine. But we would have lost him in this. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I kind of became a cop, trying to track things down with kids.
Like search and rescue.
Yeah. 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 And COVID was really chill. I was not that parent with my kids. I said, as long as you get your work done, if you have to wake up for a class, you have to be in that class, wake up for that class.
Yeah.
But if you get your work done, so I let him sleep every day. There were times we got in the car and went to the beach and worked off hotspot. So it wasn't terrible.
I don't see why not. It's just
we're just not going to stress over it that much.
No, I don't think it was something to really. Well, at least from school aspect, which is hard. It's hard when you were already struggling.
Yeah.
But if you were doing fine, it was just kind of like, I'll do whatever. Yeah. And then just.
But if you're struggling, a lot of kids, we did lose a lot of kids along the way. Not lose, but as learners, we did. They struggled.
And that's the unfortunate part.
Yeah.
And
there wasn't really any good way to answer that.
No. Because what can you really do? There's not a lot.
Yeah.
You're on the computer. It's what it is.
It is what it is.
Can't do much outside of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It was very odd.
Oh, how have you seen it now going back? Do y'all still do hybrid days or online days? No. So y'all
we're full time back. Yeah. Okay. If a kid doesn't want to be there, they're pretty much going through a virtual school. They're not there. We don't teach virtual anymore.
Okay.
But and you know what? Probably this past year, you've started to see kids really fully in the groove again.
So
it's taken several years,
4 or 5 years now to get.
We'd be like, those are COVID kids. They just kind of learned to be complacent. For a whole year, they didn't have to do very much to get a grade even. So.
Yeah, that's been the interesting part now, seeing them.
Now they're in college. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think that's been the interesting part of how that translates.
what I think is translated on that side as a parent looking at things, not from on Tommy's side of things, but on Sarah's side of things, in both of her colleges, it's not a big deal to just hold class online and we'll do an online class. Like, there is less vested interest in professors. I'm not saying they don't have requirements.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, I think that if they should be, I think it should be in class. I know.
Yeah.
That's just my thought.
I think I would have to kind of agree on that. I think there's, yeah, it is like the cop out of like,
yeah,
my laptop.
And I don't mean even for the learner. I mean for the teacher. They should.
Yeah,
it's easier. It's easy. It would be a heck of a lot easier to sit in my office.
Well, certainly. I mean, it's easier for everyone when you work remote. Like,
yeah.
The hybrid work is easier. But as a professor, I think it is just kind of a cop out of a way of doing it. Like, I mean, when you're looking at it, I mean, they are paying for your course for whatever it is, and should kind of be like, unless it's off. I mean, but
my whole thing is that's just an excuse,
yeah.
and it might be a moneymaker for the university, whatever. But I think that you can be an assigner behind the computer.
Yeah.
Instead of teaching, you can assign something. Well, I can learn it. You just want to give me the book, I can read it. You know, you're there for a reason.
Yeah. Class is a tricky thing in general, though. It's like class is, I don't know. I can't say a lot of my learning really came from being in class. Anyways, like,
yeah, that's a good point.
Regardless, I can say that for a lot. My dad was the same way. But like, that's not a universal. I know that's not a trend. Like,
and I also wonder, like, your major too.
Yeah.
You know, are you a major where they're lecturing more, or are you a major where you're going to have to sit there and learn processes? Yeah. And that you're going to need to be sitting in class for a process more than you are.
Well,
just, you know what I'm saying?
Mark went through all of med school never showing up to class.
That's crazy.
So, like,
he put people to sleep.
He's a prime example of, like,
wow.
I don't need to. Well, he'd just get the book and he'd do it himself.
Oh, okay.
So, like, that, or he would make, he'd either find practice tests or make practice tests, and just, that's what I need to know. And so, I mean, he'd go through it, but his whole study, me and him have similar studying habits that we've done. But yeah, it's the same thing of, like, I'll go to class and I can listen to what you're saying, but there's not really like a point of me, not like benefiting a ton from like this. But there's people that really need to be there, that really find it beneficial, or they just would never do it like otherwise. Like, they just would not.
And some of it's personality. I'm a people person, so I can only go so long without being like, I want that interaction, but that's because I'm like bounding in.
Yeah.
Be there. And everybody's sitting there is like, really?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's why you should offer it. Like, you know, I'm a proponent of, you should be there. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's your class.
It's where you are.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
Like, I wouldn't just, you know, not show up to my job. Like, there's no.
Exactly. There's a lot of leeway there. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, that's interesting of, like, how I can slide gradually into that. This is an online course now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And have that.
Yeah. So. It's a different world we're in now.
It is. We're going to sit back, buckle up, and see how it goes.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it. My last question to you. What would be one just kind of general piece of advice you'd give to everyone, young, old, middle-aged, whatever?
Ooh.
One good thing from your life that you've seen as like a...
Gosh, I wish I could give like some
super duper like
something
quote.
Super duper quote that I had, but I think that I would just say that it's fine to love everyone, meaning that just I find it, just from me personally, it is always such a joy and so rewarding to meet people, to pull for people, to see them doing well, and that you want them to do well alongside you, like along, for themselves, but just to be like their cheerleader and see them doing well. And I just think that, just loving everybody and making them feel warm is very important.
I think that's a great answer. It's my favorite question. It puts everyone on the spot.
It really does put you on the spot.
I know. I like it. That's
probably Dr. Bill Roach probably had some quote.
He
said something deep. I didn't hear it.
Magnificent. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.